We just did a tour of your house. A lot of damage. A lot of moving parts to get you back up on your feet. How has it been so far, as far as managing what to do first?
Oh, it's overwhelming. I've had lots of help, lots of moral support, lots of outside help. I've had people come in from all over to help. It's just overwhelming because there's so much to do and you don't even know where to start.
Don't even know where to start. There's stuff like in your
Everywhere.
living room. We were talking the other day. Do we save? Do we throw? Do we junk? Do we not? And it's good having help, but it really comes down to you having to make decisions.
And I'm not a good decision maker, but it's just one of those things you just have to do. Do I keep this? Do I throw this? I've given lots and lots of stuff away, and I've thrown a ton of stuff away. I've lived here 44 years. I've never moved. Everything that's here has been here. You know?
Forever.
And it's like throwing away parts of your life.
Your husband, my godfather, built this house.
Took us 2 years. It was our dream house. We started it in 1976, finished it in 1978, and moved in. I've never lived anywhere else. Every cabinet was full. It's just a lifetime of memories trashed.
You've got far more memories here than I have, but I mean, you and Mr. Terry, me and my sister would come over and play and hang out. And it's hard for us to see the house this way as well, but there's some, it's tough to deal with, but you said just the other day, light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, yeah. And, I've got my family. Everybody's safe. I've got my friends, and I've got my faith. And, that's what's going to sustain you. This is just stuff. But but it's my stuff.
Right.
And that's always the hard thing. And the sentimental stuff. I have cards from y'all. I have plaques. I have things that, people have given me through my life. And that's the part that's hardest for me is the sentimental stuff.
It's very tough to see everything just strewn about.
And I'm organized. You know how organized I am. I have every card that I have ever gotten. And it was in boxes. It said Hoopers. It said Dowie's. It said McGuire. And every card I've ever gotten. And I threw them in the trash can, And the attic is full. It's still full. We just can't get to it. And that's the part I think that's the hardest is the sentimental part. If I bought something, it's no big deal. But if you bought something for me 20 years ago,
right.
I still have it.
Right.
And that's the part that's the hardest.
You said just the other day that so much going on, you just don't know where to start.
But it's not just me. It's everybody in the area. They said that 95% of the homes in Calcasieu Parish were damaged. So no one can help anybody else because everybody's trying to deal with their own stuff and their own damage and their own contractor and trying to find contractors and roofers. They can't even get shingles. The shingles are back ordered. So, it just goes one step at a time and you just have to wait like everybody else.
I would imagine that there's so much to do. For everybody else in the country, around the world, they've moved on.
Right.
You're here in it, and there's so much to do that you allow yourself little time to process little bits of it. But have you processed the whole thing yet?
No, and I probably won't. I probably won't for a long time. It's just too much to deal with. You have to deal with at the moment. What needs to be done. This cabinet has to be cleaned out. You have to get a contractor. You have to find somebody to come in and gut the house. It's just a constant. There's always something to do, so you don't have time to think, which may be a blessing.
Right.
Maybe a blessing.
Too much time
Yeah.
for thought.
4 o'clock in the morning's when I usually do my thinking.
Right.
That's what wakes me up.
Let's talk about, we've talked about the negative part of it and the sentimental things that have been lost. And most people don't have the amount of sentiment built up in a house because
They move.
They move and their husband didn't build the house. This
Right.
house is a sentiment.
I
piece.
stained every board in this house. Every board, every cabinet, I stained it. And watching it just go into the trash, I just, remember all the hours and hours we spent trying to get it built. And then all the memories of the kids, like y'all. Y'all were always here. We were always doing things. The house was always open. There was always company. I live in a one-bedroom little apartment now. This is way too much to fit in a little one-bedroom apartment.
Out of all of the negative, what has been the good? You were telling me, just first tell me that number again, the amount of money it was going to take to tree removal.
The first estimate that I got when I got home, just to clean the yard, was $35,000. Just to get the trees off of the house was an additional $35,000. To get the one tree off the duplex, I own a duplex behind the house that I rent out, was $8,000. That was $78,000, just like that. Insurance doesn't cover that.
Right.
Insurance covers the trees that are on the house, but it didn't cover any of the rest. And that's when I call them God winks. God just went before me with each little thing. And this group from Christian Aid Ministries, they're from around the world. They came, cleared my yard, didn't charge me a penny.
$35,000 bill versus
Gone, nothing, free, nothing.
And they did all the work.
They did all the work. They brought skid steers, and they spent one whole afternoon and then one whole morning, and they cleared the yard of all the debris and the trees that they could cut down. Then I did pay a man to come with a crane. He had to have a crane to get the trees off the top of the house. And then I paid another man to come get the tree out of the duplex.
Insurance will cover that part.
Insurance will cover those that are on the house, right? So that, thank the Lord. But it's amazing how God went just right before me, and everything was planned. I mean, He showed up just to the day He needed to show up. Everything happened. It was unbelievable the way it happened. And the people, these people at Christian Aid Ministries and Samaritan's Purse came and gutted the entire house. There's no telling what that would have cost.
Right.
But they did it free. They showed up.
You had two different groups of people come before you. One to clean up the yard, get
Right.
rid of the trees, and then before you can start rebuilding,
Oh.
your house had to be gutted.
Right.
Another price tag, another bit of money. That
Unbelievable.
So what did
amount.
Samaritan's Purse do?
Samaritan's Purse called and said, "Is there anything we can do?" And I said, "I'm not sure. I hadn't talked to my adjuster yet. I didn't know whether or not they were going to total the house and just bulldoze it down, or whether they were going to try to rebuild it." At the exact time that Samaritan's Purse was here, my adjuster called and said, "I think we can rebuild your house." So I said, "I don't understand all this stuff. Will you talk to the guy?" So he talked to the guy that was head of this, they call it debris removal team. So he talked to him, told him what needed to be done, and Samaritan's Purse came in, started stripping the ceilings, the walls, everything out of those rooms, because it has to be gutted before they can start rebuilding. Now I have to find a contractor.
Right.
That's
So
the
it's
next
just
step.
next leg.
The next step.
There's a lot. I think a lot of people in your situation could benefit from your story.
Oh, well, I've been so blessed. I called a storage facility when I was evacuated, and they had a place available, so I rented a storage shed. I came home, and my friend and I went down to these new apartments, and they told me that they'd put me on a waiting list. They had no idea whether I'd get on it or not, but they said they'd put me on this waiting list. A week later, they called me, and they have a waiting list of 200, and I was able to get an apartment. I told them, I said, "I'll be there with my checkbook in 30 minutes. And then now there's a 600 waiting list for those apartments. 600 people without houses. People are displaced. There's no place to go.
You had a moment where you said, before a breakdown, that God spoke to you.
Yeah.
What did He say, and what can you tell other people about that?
Oh, it was just amazing. I was asleep. Friend of mine's sister-in-law and brother allowed us to come stay. She had 2 extra bedrooms, allowed us to stay in an air-conditioned house. They had a generator. And I woke up one morning, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was just so distraught. What am I going to do? Live in my storage shed? I have no place to go. I don't have a roof over my head. I have nothing. And I heard God say, "Trust me. Just trust me." I looked around to see if somebody was in the room with me, because it was so audible. And I felt like that was just God telling me He's going to take care of me, and He has. So step by step.
Other people who might see this who are just down on their luck, is that the message?
That is the message. That is the message. He's able when we're not, And although I've lost so much, I have my family, I have my friends, and I have my faith. And that's what's going to get me through.